They say you can't change your life in a single day. But I did. In just 24 hours, I went from being completely broke to having $1 million in my account. And no, it wasn't luck. It was a decision. A decision to risk everything when I had nothing left to lose. But before we get there, let me take you back to where it all started. It was a Tuesday. The kind of day that already feels like it's given up before it even begins. My alarm went off at 6:30, but I didn't get up. There was no reason to. I just lost my job, the one I'd given 5 years of my life to. My bank account had $87 in it, rent was overdue, and my phone buzzed every hour with another bill I couldn't pay. I remember staring at the ceiling that morning thinking, is this it? Is this how my story ends? Everyone around me had moved on. Friends buying houses, posting engagement pictures, flexing new cars. And me? I couldn't even afford a decent breakfast. The worst part wasn't being broke. It was being invisible. No one cares when you fail quietly. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, if you could call it that, an old wooden board balanced on 2 crates. My laptop was ancient, the fan screaming like it was trying to take off. I opened YouTube just to escape. Then I saw it, a live stream. Title, $10,000 to $1 million in 24 hours. Watch me do it. At first I laughed. Another fake guru. Another scam. But something about the way he spoke, calm, confident, no bullshit, made me stay. He wasn't selling anything. He was showing a live trading challenge, turning small risks into big wins. And then he said something that hit me like a punch. Most people fail not because they don't have opportunities, but because they're too afraid to take one. I froze. Because that was me. I'd spent my whole life waiting for the perfect moment, the right connection, the safe bet. And all it got me was $87 in my account and a pile of regret. That night I didn't sleep. I rewatched that stream 3 times, took notes, searched everything I could. By sunrise I had a crazy idea. One that could either change everything or destroy the little I had left. I sold my old camera, my TV, and the gaming console I swore I'd never give up. Altogether, I scraped up $1,200. Every last cent went into a trading platform. I didn't know what I was doing, not really. But I knew this. If I didn't take a shot now, I'd never forgive myself. I remember whispering to myself before I clicked deposit. You've got 24 hours to prove everyone wrong, or disappear. The first hour was chaos. The numbers danced, the charts spiked and crashed like heartbeats. My palms were sweating. I kept refreshing, checking, doubting. By noon I was down 30%. By 3 p.m. I was ready to quit. Then, one move. One trade. Everything I'd learned that night told me to take it. It didn't make sense. It didn't feel safe. But I clicked buy. And then I waited. 1 minute. 5 minutes. 10. The line went flat, then slowly started to rise. My heart was pounding. $1,200 became $1,600. Then $2,400. Then $5,000. I didn't breathe. Every rise felt like hope, every dip like death. By midnight I was still glued to the screen, exhausted, shaking, half certain I was dreaming. At 3:47 a.m. something happened. The price spiked, violently. My screen flashed numbers I couldn't process. $10,000, $30,000, $000, $80,000, $000. It just kept going. I didn't believe it until the final number appeared in the corner. $1,023,418. I just sat there, in silence, hands trembling over the keyboard. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel possible. But it was right there, $1 million. And that's when I realized, this wasn't about money anymore. It was about what happens when you finally decide to bet on yourself. They tell you that when you finally get what you've been chasing, you'll feel relief. That's a lie. When I saw $1 million flash on my screen, I didn't feel peace. I felt terror. Because deep down I knew, easy come, easy go. It was 3:47 in the morning. My room was pitch black except for the pale glow of my laptop screen. Outside, the world slept. But inside, my heart was sprinting like I'd just stolen time itself. The numbers were still there. $1,023,418. I stared at that number for minutes that felt like hours. Then the fear hit me. What if it crashes? What if it disappears before I can pull it out? My hand hovered over the withdraw button, but I didn't click it. Because a voice inside me whispered, "You've come this far. What if you could double it?" That's the thing about success, it's addictive. Once you taste it, you start craving more. Logic fades. Risk becomes oxygen. I leaned back in my chair trying to think straight. My apartment was freezing, I hadn't paid the heating bill in weeks, but my palms were slick with sweat. Somewhere in the background, the refrigerator hummed, an old reminder of a life that suddenly felt too small. I opened another trade. Then another. $50,000 here. $100,000 there. Every click felt like I was gambling with reality. By sunrise, I'd made another $200,000, on paper. But something felt wrong. Every win felt emptier than the last. Every spike was followed by the same whisper. It could all vanish. One wrong move. At 9 a.m. my phone buzzed. It was Mark, my old college friend. The kind of guy who always seemed to have his life together. He texted, "Hey man, saw your story. You really made that in one night?" I stared at the message. My story? Turns out I'd accidentally left my trading stream public on Twitch. Thousands of people had tuned in overnight. I didn't even realize I was live. When I opened my email, it was chaos. Dozens of messages, some congratulating me, others begging for tips. And one subject line that made my stomach twist. Partnership opportunity, let's scale this. It was from TitanX, a startup crypto platform I'd barely heard of. They'd seen the stream and wanted to sponsor me. They offered $250,000 upfront, if I'd do another live session that night using their platform. I should have walked away. But greed, it's louder than reason. So I said yes. All day I tried to act normal. I made coffee, went for a walk, called my mom even though I hadn't spoken to her in months. She sounded tired, cautious. "Are you okay, honey? You sound off." I told her I was fine, that everything was finally working out. She said something I didn't want to hear. "Be careful what you chase. Not everything that shines is gold." I laughed it off, but deep down I felt it. That chill that creeps in when you know you're standing too close to the edge. That night I went live again. This time there were over 20,000 viewers watching. The chat was exploding with emojis, hype, disbelief. "Let's go. Millionaire in the making." I smiled for the camera, but my stomach was in knots. I loaded the TitanX account with half of my balance, $500,000. The screen felt heavy. The audience wanted a show. I was about to give them one. The first few trades went great, small wins, quick flips. The chat loved it. But then I saw an opportunity, a coin dropping fast, everyone panicking. I remembered that quote from the stream that started it all. Most people fail not because they don't have opportunities, but because they're too afraid to take one. So I took it. I dumped $400,000 into that coin. The chat went wild. "Dude's insane. Respect the hustle." My heart pounded in my throat as the price dipped lower and lower. $400,000. $350,000. $300,000. "Hold," I whispered to myself. "Hold. It'll bounce." But it didn't. Not yet. 30 minutes felt like 30 years. Sweat dripped from my temple onto the keyboard. The chat started turning, people calling me stupid, reckless, fake. My hands were shaking. Then the screen froze. For a second everything went black. Connection lost. I thought it was over. I thought I just lost everything, on camera, in front of the world. When the connection came back, the chart was green. It had spiked hard. The coin had recovered. I just turned $400,000 into $1.2 million. The chat exploded. I leaned back, dizzy, laughing, crying. I didn't even know what emotion it was. I felt like a god. But gods fall too. Minutes later, the messages started rolling in again. People begging for investment advice. "Teach me, bro. Can you manage my money? Is TitanX legit?" I didn't know what to say. I wasn't a trader. I wasn't a genius. I was just a guy who got lucky, twice. I ended the stream early, closed my laptop, sat in the dark, surrounded by the hum of my old refrigerator and the weight of too much noise in my head. I didn't sleep. At dawn I logged back in and froze. My TitanX account was gone. Error, user not found. I tried again. Same thing. I checked my bank account, nothing had transferred. I called the support number they gave me. No answer. The website was down. By noon, news started breaking online. TitanX platform exposed as scam, millions lost. My stomach dropped. My entire balance, gone. Every dollar. Every hour. Everything. For a while I just sat there staring at the wall. Not angry. Not crying. Just empty. I'd spent so long chasing money that I forgot why I started. It wasn't about getting rich. It was about proving something, to the world, to my family, to myself. But all I'd proven was how quickly greed can turn victory into disaster. That evening Mark called again. He didn't ask about the money. He just said, "Hey man, you still got you. That's worth more than anything." I didn't know how to respond. But that night, for the first time in months, I slept. When I woke up, the fear was gone. I brewed a cup of cheap coffee, opened my laptop, and looked at the blank screen. And then I smiled. Because even though I'd lost everything again, this time I knew what it felt like to take a risk. To really risk. And to know that I could rebuild. The world loves to talk about success stories, about the million-dollar wins. But they never talk about what happens after. The silence. The loss. The part where you find out who you really are. I didn't make $1 million that night. I made something else. A version of myself that wasn't afraid to start over. And that was worth every penny I lost. People love to hear about how I made $1 million in one day. But no one asks what happened after that day. The truth is, I lost it all. Every cent. Every moment of glory. Every illusion I built around what I thought success looked like. When Titan-X vanished, I thought my life was over again. The first few days were a blur, denial, anger, disbelief. I kept checking the site, hoping it would come back online. It didn't. And with it went everything I'd been chasing. The silence that followed was deafening. No messages. No congratulations. The same people who cheered for me when the numbers went up were gone when they came crashing down. That's when I learned something ugly about success. When you win, everyone wants to stand next to you. When you fall alone. The next week, I deleted every trading app from my phone. I took a walk through my neighborhood, something I hadn't done in months. Same cracked sidewalks. Same rusted cars. Same old corner store with the flickering sign. But for the first time, I wasn't looking away from it. I was looking at it. At life. At reality. I bought a cup of coffee with my last $5 and sat on a bench. And that's when it hit me. The $1 million didn't change me. Losing it did. Because when you lose everything, the noise stops. And in the quiet, you finally hear the truth. I started thinking about what got me there in the first place. The hunger. The obsession. The desperation to prove that I mattered. It wasn't the money I wanted, it was freedom. Freedom from feeling small. Freedom from feeling like I'd wasted my life. But chasing money doesn't give you freedom. It just replaces one cage with another, a shinier one. So I made a choice. Not to quit. Not to chase. But to build. I took what little I had left and started learning. Not about trading. About value. About business. About discipline. About people. I got a job. Yeah, a real one. Something I used to think was beneath me. It didn't pay much, but it gave me something more important. Perspective. Every morning I'd wake up before sunrise, hit the gym, and remind myself of the one rule I'd ignored my whole life. If you can't control yourself, you'll never control success. It became my mantra. Slowly I started saving again. Not for the thrill, for the foundation. Brick by brick, dollar by dollar. Months passed. I wasn't rich, but I was stable. And for the first time, peaceful. Then one night I opened an old notebook, the one from that first live stream. Inside were scribbles, ideas, calculations, and one line written in red ink. Risk everything once. Then learn how not to risk it again. I smiled. Because now I understood what that meant. A year later, I launched my own startup. Not in trading but in education. A program that teaches people how to handle money, not just chase it. No hype. No promises. Just honesty. The same honesty I wish someone had shown me before I lost it all. It didn't blow up overnight. But it grew. Slowly. And every person I helped reminded me why I started. 6 months later, I checked my account balance. $1,003,000. For real this time. But here's the twist. It didn't feel like the first million. It felt better. Because I earned it. I understood it. And most importantly, it didn't own me anymore. Money is just a mirror. It reflects who you are when you get it. If you're lost, it makes you more lost. If you're grounded, it makes you unstoppable. Now, when people ask me how I made $1 million in 24 hours, I tell them the truth. I didn't. I made it twice. The first time, I made it in my account. The second time, I made it in my mind. And the second one, no one can ever take away.